Well, hello everyone, and welcome to NC Family's weekly update. We hope you all had a blessed Easter. We certainly did here, but are glad to be back with you. As you can see, it's just Sharon and me today. Jerry is out of town, but Lord willing, will be back with us next week. Well, the General Assembly has been on Easter break this week, and things have been relatively quiet down at the Legislative Building on Jones Street after some major fireworks that took place last week. Of course, I'm referring to State Representative Tricia Cotham, who switched parties from the Democratic Party to the Republican Party and handed the House Republican caucus a 72nd seat, which means they have effectively a veto-proof supermajority. Republicans already have a veto-proof supermajority in the state Senate, so this was really, really big news, wasn't it, Sharon?
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah. Especially considering how active we expect Democratic Governor Roy Cooper to be with his big red veto stamp in the coming months of the legislative session. Now, all that said, time will tell how this plays out. Representative Cotham did not always walk lockstep with the Democrats, but she's also not what most would consider to be a conservative or even a moderate on some issues. So we'll see how things go. I think one of the most amazing things that took place was the scathing rebuke that Representative Cotham gave to the Democratic Party during the press conference that took place when she announced her party switch. She essentially said that she had been bullied, disrespected, and even attacked whenever she strayed from the Democratic Party's hardline position on issues. Sharon, she really kind of pulled back the curtain a bit, and it was pretty ugly what we saw.
It actually really was. And one of the things that really stuck out to me was that she said, as an independent thinking woman and as a mom, she was particularly appalled at the treatment she had received from her own party, even going so far as to say, they picked on the wrong chick.
Yeah, that was a pretty strong statement. And she has been also commented that she has been warmly received into the Republican Party.
Yes.
So, just really, really interesting dynamics here. And it will definitely have a significant impact on the legislative session moving forward. We have provided a link to the press conference below the video. So if you'd like to see that, and hear more from Representative Cotham about the experience that she had and what led to her decision to make this party switch, you can see that under the video. Well, the week before Easter break, and thankfully we had a break because we needed it to catch up, lawmakers filed hundreds of bills. I think there were actually close to 300 bills that were filed in the week preceding last week in the state Senate alone. And we've been working our way through those.
Yes.
So Sharon, a number of those bills seek to deal with issues surrounding sexual identity and gender dysphoria, especially among youth.
Right.
Give us an update on some of those bills.
Well, as we've been working our way through them, I've identified right now about 7 bills that touch on 3 particular issues: healthcare, conscientious protections, and sports bills. So I'm going to briefly kind of summarize them, and then we will be sending out an email if you haven't already gotten it. It may even be a link on the bottom of this for you to look them all up. But first was the health bills, and many of these, as you said, are aimed at protecting minor children from so-called gender-affirming treatments like the administration of puberty blockers, cross-sex hormones, and even gender reassignment surgeries. And why this legislation is so important is that we know that these are irreversible, they cause mutilation, and they can cause sterility. And on top of that, it's especially bad when we know that a very high percentage of these youths, as they mature and grow up, revert back to identifying as their biological sex.
Yeah.
So we want to protect them from having these treatments that are irreversible and then changing their minds and being stuck in a pretty bad situation for the rest of their lives.
And really regretting it. And we're hearing more from what are referred to as detransitioners, people who have gone through gender transitions who regret it. And are trying to physically, as best they can, kind of revert back to their biological sex. The statistics that we have heard is that as many as 85%, 90%, or even higher of young people who are suffering with gender dysphoria or sexual identity issues and confusion, by the time they reach late teenhood or their early 20s, 85 to 90% or more of those individuals revert back to identifying as their biological sex.
Right.
And so to allow these irreversible surgeries and hormone things that cause sterility to happen before that time, can really impact them for the rest of their lives.
The rest of their lives, yes.
So it's really very concerning.
Right. So also, some of the bills address the conscious protections. One of the health bills had that in there, but then there was another bill filed separately that would protect healthcare providers, hospitals and clinics, and health insurance companies from having to participate in these kinds of treatments. And it also included stricter protections for people who do not want to participate in abortions as well. So it's a broader scope with this bill.
Yeah. So that's very important, and it's really if the conscience would be violated based on religious, ethical, or moral grounds, then this this legislation, if enacted, would help protect them. And we currently have really broad protections as it relates to abortion, but this would relate to these types of so-called treatments that you have described.
Correct.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then finally, there was some sports bills filed. Republican members from both chambers filed some bills that put some stipulations on women's sports, girls' sports in high schools and middle schools in North Carolina. It stipulates, and I'm quoting here, that the teams would be expressly designated by the biological sex of the team participants as either male, female, or co-ed. Yeah. And that would be determined on the genetics and reproductive biology at birth of the participants. So really going back to boys sports, girls sports, and then co-ed sports. There is a stipulation in one or two of the bills that does allow for girls to play in boys sports if there is not a sport for them, and as long as it is not a contact sport.
Yeah, yeah. But it would prohibit biological males or boys from participating or playing on girls' sports teams. So so very, very important issues. So thanks for that summary.
You're welcome.
It's very helpful. These bills were just filed recently, and so they haven't seen action yet, but we're very hopeful and certainly will be advocating strongly for them. Also, in the past week, there has been a lot of activity in the courts over chemical abortion drugs.
Yes.
First, a federal district court judge in Texas, which you probably have heard about, issued an opinion that could reverse the FDA's approval of the abortion drug mifepristone, which is one of the two drugs in the chemical abortion drug protocol. However, the judge delayed the effect of his opinion to allow the FDA and the federal government to appeal, which they did. That same day that Texas ruling came down, a federal judge in the state of Washington issued a conflicting opinion to keep the federal government, and I quote, from altering the status quo and rights as it relates to the availability of mifepristone. So basically, that opinion would affirm the FDA's approval of the drug. So we had two conflicting opinions.
Right.
And then late Wednesday of this week, a three-judge panel of the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals in Texas upheld some but not all of the district court judge's ruling in that particular case. I know this sounds complicated. Sharon, help us sort it out. What does it really mean?
It is very complicated, and I've pored over all kinds of articles and stuff to try to get myself up to date and make sure I'm being clear on this. First, I would say that what the last ruling said in the appellate court, from my understanding, is that mifepristone will stay on the market while the appeals process is moving forward. So ADF did not win on that front at this moment, but it isn't set in stone yet. But they did rule in ADF's favor to put stronger restrictions on the medication. So since 2016, the FDA has loosened the restrictions, allowing for the mifepristone to be given later in pregnancy, up to 10 weeks. More recently, they were trying to see if they could get the drug into retail pharmacies, and also trying to prescribe the medication via telehealth. And all of this is just remarkable in the sense that this causes more problems for the women. And it's not safe to not be seen by a doctor when you're going to be doing something like this. So the judges ruled that they would put those restrictions back in place. So now the drug cannot be given past 7 weeks. It has to be given in the presence of a physician in person. And right now you will not be able to pick up that medication at any retail pharmacies.
Yeah. Well, that's really helpful. Of course, this is still very fluid.
It is.
This was the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals. It has, as we understand it at this point, pretty broad effect across the country. However, because there were conflicting opinions in federal courts, it's likely that this case or these cases will go up to the U.S. Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court may rule on this. That could take a while.
It could.
So we will see. We'll certainly work to keep you updated on that. We do have a story that we've linked to that we sent out about this. So if you want more information about it, of course, you can click on the link below the video and get more information about that. So,
and I would want to add, do not be dismayed that this wasn't a win across the board. These things take time, and even putting those safeguards in does save the lives of some babies and some of these mothers. So I consider that a win. We just have to continue to press on and keep praying.
Yeah, and I think it's also very important because we've had a lawsuit filed in North Carolina by an abortion doctor from Orange County, North Carolina, not California, challenging these exact provisions in North Carolina statute. And so this these cases as they move forward could have significant impact, and likely will have significant impact, not only in Texas and in other states in the Fifth Circuit, but also North Carolina. So we'll definitely keep you up to date on that. Anything else, Sharon?
I don't think so. Yeah. Okay. Pretty busy week.
Yeah, it has. It has been. Folks, as always, thanks for your time and attention. We really appreciate it. God bless you and your families, and we will see you next week.